We'll go ahead and get started with a slow start and welcome people as they come. Is that agreeable to all? Great. Great. Well, welcome again. As I said, my name is Blair Jennings, and I'm thrilled to be with you this morning. Um, for me, ethical considerations are an ongoing philosophical discussion. There is never a shortage of, I guess, ethical situations that require us to think on our feet, but more importantly, to have some things in place, I guess is the easiest way to put it, whether we're in private practice or whether we work in an organization, to have some of these conversations proactively so that when situations arise, we are somewhat prepared and at least we have a protocol or a procedure or at least others uh, to work with and think things through with. So very quickly this morning, by the end of this webinar, when we learn with and from each other, we'll have achieved the following. I'll go over the learning objectives, explore personal social scenarios that present challenges to and opportunities for ethical behavior. We'll examine personal decisions in light of ethical terms, concepts, perspectives, and most importantly, our recovery coach roles. We'll describe the potential individual, social, and community impact of personal decisions. And we'll understand how this dynamic drives the need for, as we just mentioned, personal and professional codes of ethics. One of the things, well, let me go to the next slide because that will help explain where I'm headed with this one. So what we'll do, I know Stacy was kind enough to send you one of the scenarios in advance for you to prepare and think about and spend some time, and that's wonderful. We'll do that together. And for the purpose of the first two scenarios, we'll share our answers via the chat box. That way everyone can see and we're not stumbling over each other with the microphone. I will then do my best to capture them, read them aloud, make sure everyone has each other's information and feedback. For the QuickTime, the QuickTime breakout session, I will, evenly as I'm able, considering there are 7 of you, I may just do 2 rooms. Actually, there's only 5, considering 2 of you are signed in twice. I will break you up into 2 different rooms. And in that time, I will also enable your microphones so that you will be able to talk with each other and examine a couple of scenarios very quickly to gauge your immediate response based on your experience, based on the conversations we've had leading up to those. And then we'll come back together and I will disable your mics and then ask you to have someone from each group report out what your responses were. This is going to be exciting and fun, and we may stumble a little bit, but I think it will be an interesting way for you to share and talk with each other and then share with the whole group as well. I'll enable individual microphones based on a hand raise, and I will go over these instructions again when we get closer. So at that point, like I say, we'll collect that information, we'll share that information, we'll process it all together, we'll ask questions. There's plenty of time in this webinar for discussion. So I really am excited that we've built in the time to think this through and talk it out together. Are there any questions before we get started? All right, I see a couple of no's. I'll take that as a good sign. So this is the scenario that you were sent prior to our getting together. So I'll read it so that we're all on the same page, literally and figuratively. Bill is a recovery coach in a small town. He is very well respected and serves as a leader in both his recovery organization and community. Bill is known for providing great recovery support for his recoverees. Bill becomes a lay pastor in his church, and along with his new role comes an elevated presence on the church's Facebook page. Bill also begins to attract media coverage of his sermons. some of which are very strident and evangelical in their pronouncements and perspectives. While at work, Bill does not promote any specific ideology or perspective about religion or spirituality. However, this heightened awareness of his outside sermons and positions have caught the attention of some community resources, affiliates of the RCC where Bill works, as well as that of his co-workers and recoveries. So in terms of the very first question, what ethical terms or concepts does this scenario highlight for you? And I'll put them up there. There they are for your reference. Go ahead and type. Do not worry about grammar, syntax, spelling, anything at all. Go ahead and type your answers right into that chat box and we'll then see them and I'll read them. Boundary management. Tell me why. There are several people typing, so we're happy to wait. Multi-party vulnerability. Absolutely. Tell me why. And Janet says because his views may cause his recovery community center to not trust for fear of being judged, and the two positions may give the unintentional appearance of judgment. Indeed. Indeed. Ooh, I see multiple attendees typing. I love it. Though Bill is a lay pastor, and many seeking recovery have a hard time grasping a higher power. Yes, where others are very strict and devoted with their faith. Yes. His sermons are excessively unpleasant. Yep, if they are, indeed. That's true. They may think that the views of Bill are the views of the organization, and yet at work. Yep. I see them all: iatrogenic, multi-party vulnerability, boundary management. Exactly. What is one of the keys in recovery coaching that this highlights so well? I'll give it up. I'm thinking multiple pathways. Multiple pathways. That's what I'm hearing. We as recovery coaches have to follow our recoveries and what direction they want to take. What does their recovery look like for them? And the perception, the even the appearance of an improper perception can be damaging to a relationship. And again, our recovery coach role is all about a relationship with our recovery. Anybody want to add anything? Any other thing that comes up or that when you were thinking about this? All right. Well, then let's ask the next question. So, what recovery coach roles does this scenario risk compromising? And I'll put them up there for you for your reference. Yes, yes. Relatable, relatable, friend, companion, lifestyle consultant, any of those relate to that idea of relatability. Ally, confidant, motivator, cheerleader, advocate, ally, confidant, problem solver. Yes. Tell me why. Tell me why. All of them. Yes. I see many people are typing. That is great. Janet says again, because our role as recovery coaches is to meet the recovery where they are and not give them the impression we know or promote something that is biased. Very well said. Yep. Because of the perception around judgment. Yes, yes. Not really being with the recovery where he or she is based more on his views, Bill's views. That is the danger of that perception. Yes. Now it did say that Bill offers or is known to offer very, very competent recovery coach services to his recoveries. So, yep, the person could feel Bill were making judgments against them based off his life. Yes, perception is key here. I agree. I agree. Because again, perception is very, very powerful. So the action that Bill provides as a recovery coach can get overshadowed by that perception. Most, if not all, his actions cause harm to all involved. Does he, I'm going to throw an extra question in here. Does he have a right to have his views and follow his passion? Bill? Yes, but he has to manage the publicity and how it is presented. Exactly. Yes, 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 yes. Exactly. Doesn't interfere with his interactions with recoveries. And I think Janet hits that well when she says he has to manage that publicity and how it's presented. That's a key issue in this scenario. And yes, ally, confidant. Those seeking recovery may hear a sermon or have heard that Bill is very devoted to his faith, and those seeking recovery feel ashamed of their past actions and feel intimidated. Yes. Wow. Yeah. On the flip side, the recovery could make judgments. That's exactly right, based on Bill's beliefs. Exactly. Oh, you can't hear me? Can you? Do I need to speak up? Maybe you need to unmute your speakers or adjust your speaker volume, Glenn. Yeah. All right. We've got a very active capture going on here, and I see some more people are typing, so I'll give it just another minute. Is anyone else having a problem hearing? Um, no, no one else has enabled microphones right now. That's why we're doing the chat box feed uh, at this point. We'll hear each other later during the quick think. Okay. No worries. All right. Well, Glenn, I hope that technical difficulty clears up. Again, at this point, I think it's great. Please follow the chat box, and again, we'll proceed. So, next question, and I think we touched on this a little bit when we talked about managing that publicity. Describe the impact of Bill's elevated social presence. I see several are typing. Still typing. It could affect the way individuals view him at work and at church based on his dual responsibilities. Right. Once it becomes public, it is at the interpretation for anyone, yes, who reads it from their own point of reference. Yes. Yes, it is out there. And yes, there it goes. It could cause harm to all involved. what's that impact of this increased social media presence? I mean, that is something that before, and again, we've had it for quite a while now. Before, you could have a private life and a public life, and the two could be pretty well distanced from each other. But now there are these lines that seem blurred because, again, based on his church, they have a Facebook page. They promote themselves in a way that now puts Bill out there in a way that perhaps he doesn't want to be, or, again, there's that risk of misperception. See many people typing. This is a good. Yep. If they comment on his Facebook page, it can influence what people think. Now, as I recall, this was the church's Facebook page. It didn't indicate that Bill was doing anything untoward on his Facebook page. Well, we don't even know if Bill Facebooks himself, but the church is using their page to promote, some of what Bill is saying or some of his sermons. Yes, his elevated social presence creates a difficult distinction between the views of Bill and his agency, as they can be seen as promoting the views he presents on his church Facebook page. Indeed, indeed. And that precedes our next question. So I, I'll go ahead and scooch on. Go ahead, Jamer. I hope I said that correctly. Yes, his actions will be closely watched and scrutinized. That is for sure. And again, as recovery coaching grows and we become more recognized for the services we're providing, and we become reimbursed in many scenarios, it will be even more critical because we will be under microscopes. Are we performing our jobs professionally, capably, competently? There are many different religious views, and it could exclude other spiritual entities. Absolutely, multiple pathways. For some, spirituality is a large component. For others, not so much. And that we as recovery coaches have to meet our recoveries right where they live. Cross-cultural boundaries, absolutely. Yes. So while a couple people are typing, I'll go ahead and ask the next consideration. What's the perspective? Let's explore it just a little bit from the perspective of a coworker. Someone who knows Bill well and knows him to be a really excellent recovery coach. Um, and then possibly from the outside, someone who doesn't know Bill so well, that organizational affiliate who seems to see all these lovely posts and is starting to get a little worried. Facebook and other social media account information is requested because employers are concerned about the image projected. Yes, 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 yes. Hey, Melody. Oh, I never worry about typos, please. You're typing fast and it's perfect. I do my best to translate. Yep, they would wonder about his ability to keep the separation between his own beliefs and practices and his roles as an RC. That's right. This is that situation where it seems the reverse, that words are actually speaking louder than actions. We always hear that actions speak louder than words, and if Bill is providing great service, well, that should be all that matters. But in this case, it does seem to be a reverse of that. And people may think his coworkers are the same. Yes, yes, yes. There's another part of that multi-party vulnerability. It really does affect the perception of his entire organization. Yes, absolutely. Yes. We're a litigious society, so yes, there's always that potential. That's and offense. Absolutely. Yeah, offended. Yes, yes, and that damages the entire organization. At work, I think he will be looked at differently. Individuals can't help but make judgments. If he's able to balance his roles, his coworkers will adjust. One would hope. Yes. Yeah. When that organizational affiliate of the Recovery Community Center, what are some of the relationships that might be damaged there? I love seeing everybody typing. They can, yes. And that's again, this is a they can be polarizing. Yes. Where things are very personal and people are very passionate about them, there tends to be the opportunity for vulnerability, yes. And from an affiliate, they could see it as Bill's agency taking the stance. Absolutely, friction. It could cause a loss of trust, a loss of faith. It could even cause a loss of funding if the affiliate is somehow financing the efforts or paying for services from the agency or organization that Bill works from or works with, excuse me. So yeah, there could be very big ramifications. And these are all great considerations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, any last sum ups? Anybody have any last thought they want to share? And then, oh, great! It looks like Anne was able to clear up her double sign in. So let's move on. Let's take a look at a scenario you haven't seen. And I'll go more slowly as I read it this time so we get it. Sarah is a seasoned recovery coach with a warm nature. I think it's a warm and friendly nature. I apologize for the typo. She works in private practice and she shares office space in a downtown building with her friend Karen, who works independently as a marriage counselor. Karen will occasionally refer a spouse in recovery to Sarah for short-term coaching and referral to outside recovery support resources. So she works in private practice, she shares office space, she's in a downtown building. Her friend Karen is an independent marriage counselor. Karen often refers a spouse in recovery to Sarah for short-term coaching and referral to outside recovery support resources. Sarah has shared that she has romantic feelings toward her most recent recovery, a man whom Karen has referred to her. They have not yet met outside the office, and nothing physical has occurred, but Sarah is sure the feelings are mutual, and she would like to initiate a more personal relationship. Thank you. Yeah. So let's look at the considerations, in light of some of the terms. Again, the terms that no, yes. What are some of the terms? The fiduciary, multi-party vulnerability, iatrogenic, boundaries. Boundaries, all of the above. Indeed, who fiduciary, yes, that is such a strong one here. We as recovery coaches have a special obligation to our recoverees. Thank you. All of them. All of the above, and I would expect the recovery coach to remove themselves as that person's recovery coach. Yes. Impact. It could hurt the recovery and the profession. hmm Definitely. If he was referred to her from her marriage counselor friend, that could mean he is married, which would cross a lot of negative boundaries, opening a Pandora's box. Yes, it could even precipitate a relapse. Thank you. Indeed. So that is extremely harmful to our recovery. And the person who referred the recovery to Karen, yes. Thank you. Yes. There should definitely be some conversation going on between Karen and Sarah. Tell me about the relationship to begin with. They're friends. You know, what starts as something very innocent. Oh, you're a recovery coach. I'm your friend. I know someone who needs you. That is a problem, adding more challenge to an existing problem. Yes. Sarah's the recovery coach. It's okay, though, if you get the names mixed up. You've only seen it once. I can go back to it. She could be on this call. It would be in the best interest that women coach women, men coach men, except when there's an emergency situation. Sarah may be acting out on her own. Yep. We don't know Sarah's background. Yeah. hmm Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. I heard that loud and clear. And fiduciary. Indeed. Indeed. How best can a recovery coach check themselves? I like the way Glenn says it. Sarah needs to check herself. What are some strategies she could use to do that? Yes. Many of you are typing. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. That's that refresher in ethics. Yep. Take a look. What did I sign on to do when I offered to be a recovery coach? What is my role? What are my responsibilities? There are all the roles, but there are also the responsibilities. Personal inventory. Absolutely. Step back and refer them to another trusted coach. Mhm. So let's scoot ahead and see what about Karen's perspective? She's the person who referred this gentleman to Sarah. How might she respond? What's her perspective? Thank you. I love seeing all the indications that people are typing because I love it. It means you're thinking. In cyberland, it means you're thinking, and I love it. Yep. She can inform Sarah to refer the person to another recovery coach and in the future use more of her other referral sources when it comes to referring men to Sarah. Indeed, it might be prudent if Karen finds a go to male recovery coach. The same way she has Sarah in her pocket and she knows that she's a recovery coach, it would be great to have more resources. The recovery could see this as a racket. Absolutely. It could look like a setup. You're right. You're right. That's that from the recovery's perspective. How else could the recovery respond too? I mean, you had touched on it earlier when you said he's if he's at a marriage counselor, it's highly probable he's married. So again, from his perspective, yes, she does have an ethical responsibility to protect herself, to inform the recovery that this is not yes, yes, yes. And yes, the recovery could come right back on Karen. Hmm. Yes. Yes. Maybe, our focus is on Sarah, but maybe our focus ought to be on Karen. Karen might not really understand the depth and breadth of recovery coaching and why it would be a very sensitive or vulnerable place to put her clients, helping her understand what the ethics of recovery coaching are. Um, yes, the recovery might find this to be perfectly acceptable because he doesn't know. Yes. Yep. To distance herself. Karen could distance herself from this relationship. Yes. And then, and it came up again in the previous discussion. If indeed this is something serious and it is essentially agreeable to all parties, then the ethical responsibility would be to disengage from a recovery coach relationship and or even the marriage counselor relationship and pursue this in a very private way and refer someone to a more appropriate coach. Yes, it could be confusing to the man. You're right. He may be vulnerable. He is extremely vulnerable in this situation. That's right. We don't know his situation. I see a couple of people typing. Yes. We don't know if Karen's been in recovery. That's a great question. Does she understand the complexity of how it intertwines with the recovery's recovery? How much has this person's recovery affected his or her marriage, right? The impact on the family. How will it affect Sarah's sobriety? The trust, credibility of both Sarah and Karen. So well stated, Anne. Yes, the trust and credibility of both Sarah and Karen. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So thank you for being willing to look at the complexity of situations. What's one of the key things that we're dealing with when we're in a relationship, either with our recovery, trust? Hmm. And we're humans working with humans. So therefore we are subject to feelings and experiences and layers and layers and layers of essentially opportunity, responsibility, vulnerability. So working in a professional role, working as a recovery coach, knowing that that is, putting that professionalism first and foremost will help us navigate all those other layers. Mm, great. I see some typing. Absolutely. Let's keep going. We can explore this for our biases and weaknesses are. So, yes, yes, it affects how we coach and being willing to refer out if we think it will. Yes, going all the way back to the Recovery Coach Academy. Is it the coach with biases we're worried about, or the coach who doesn't know his or her biases that we're worried about? You're absolutely right, Janet. Thank you for bringing that up. If we know where our weaknesses and our vulnerabilities are, that self awareness, that coach's self awareness, we'll be better able to monitor and modulate and act accordingly, act responsibly. I see some typing. Go back to the idea of perception. What does this scenario risk compromising in terms of recovery coaching in general? Yep, not sending mixed signals to the recovery, setting boundaries at the very beginning, absolutely, especially in small communities. Yes, separating the two roles. 13th stepping indeed. I love that point you make about setting those boundaries at the beginning. Understand it does risk the reputation of the profession. The question, Anne, was what, based on perception, what does this scenario risk compromising about recovery coaching in general? Every aspect, yep. The recovery process for the recovery. Hmm. Yeah, it really calls into question, you know, how how professional are we behaving? And that's again, this need for continuous professional development. So hats off to all of you on the call for keeping this thinking going. The image of CCAR coaching in general, indeed, we risk a lot of misperception and a lot. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Integrity. I love it. Yes. Professional respect. That's exactly right. We are clamoring for that professional respect from many people. This is a great designation and it is so powerful and positive. But again, there are many people who are suspect. And again, the adherence to ethics, 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 exactly why we're here. An ongoing conversation, an ongoing philosophical understanding or pursuit, trying to ask the questions. How am I behaving? What is my role? What are my responsibilities? And indeed, having policies established to protect those who are vulnerable. Yep. One of the difficulties in this scenario that's highlighted is they are both in private practice. They don't operate in an organizational setting. Does that mean that they're exempt from having an ethical policy, an ethical statement, a code of ethics? No, exactly. Exactly. It's a personal and professional responsibility. Could they develop a professional network of other people in private practice? Yep. Yes. They could do some group supervision with other people in private practice, helping each other stay on the right page to promote that ethical behavior. I see some typing. I love how you're thinking. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I see just a little more typing and then are there any other thoughts related to either this scenario or the one before it that you want to make? Yep. And yes, thankfully we have good resources through our Families Against Narcotics from doctors, judges, professionals, counselors, mentors, others in recovery. Great, great. Yes, relying on those outside resources, helping us check ourselves. It is difficult to check ourselves when we're isolated. So we need all the resources we can get as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for this great thinking. Oh, I see a couple more typing. Anything else? Anything anybody wants to add about this? Okay, then it appears we're ready to move. Oh, a lot of local health departments can give you an opportunity to staff any concerns or question. That's a great point. Thank you. And yes, especially those in private practice. Thank you, Glenn. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yep, relying on those outside resources. Okay, so this is the exciting part of the webinar. So what I'm going to do, we're going to try something a little different. While we were setting up, I have randomly as equally as I'm able, assigned each of you to a breakout room. And you will have the opportunity once I send you to those rooms, I'm sending you to your room. No, seriously. Once I send you to those rooms, you will have an opportunity to chat amongst yourselves about one of these three questions, and I'll put them up now. I will come, you don't have to look at them. I will come to each room to assure that they are set up, that this page is set up in your room so you can see them. And what I'll have you do is at that point, I will enable your microphones. You know, we're going to trust technology here. I will enable your microphones so you can actually talk with each other. And what I'll have you do is once you get into each room, you will see which room you're in, breakout 1, breakout 2, or breakout 3. And breakout 1, as you might imagine, I'm going to have you take a stab at the question 1. Breakout 2, I'll have you take question 2, and breakout 3, I'll have you take question 3. So as I said, once you're together, you'll have some time to discuss. I'll come visit. I'd really recommend that one person be designated the reporter and take notes. That person will be asked when we come back together. What I'll do is I will still have your mics enabled. I will ask you to mute your microphones. In fact, maybe I'll mute all of the microphones if it seems unwieldy. But what I'll have you do then is raise your hand, each reporter, and I'll call on you in turn and enable your microphone so that we can hear from you. And at that point, you can share your answers with the whole group. Does it sound exciting? Does it sound intimidating? Is everybody ready? It's okay. Yes. Good. Thank you, Chip. Yes, 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 yes. Good. Good. Good, good, good. Good. Good, good. I'm seeing lots of yeses. Well, then with that, I will do a little magic and start the breakouts. And I will come visit some rooms. Let me enable microphones. You should.
So that's the young youth, they go to the needle exchanges in the larger city. And
I did get that, Jamal.
all right.
All right.
All right. Hi, guys. Welcome back. It is so great to hear your voices, but I am going to ask you to mute your microphones, please.
Gotcha. Yep.
Excellent. Oh, I see just a couple more that are unmuted, but it's okay. I guess, are you the three presenters? No, I guess not. Okay. So, and you can use the chat box to fill in around the blanks or around the comments, and we'll try to multitask and hear what's happening um, as well as capture what you did in your group. So, may I have the representative from group one, either Glenn or Jamer, to let me know who's going to report, and I'll then ask you to unmute your microphone and share with us what your thoughts were about question one, please. Sorry about that, Melody. That'll be okay. As long as you're not the reporter for your group, as long as you can hear us, that'll be okay. So group one, either Glenn or Jamer, are you there? I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Glenn, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Now I can hear you. And go ahead, Jamer. I've unmuted you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, excellent. So now I'm not sure which of you is the reporter for your group. If you want to share with us some of your thoughts about question one, please, and then we'll all be able to hear you.
Okay. I can do the report.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So one of the things that we were talking about was with social media and Facebook, and how it could be utilized to enhance recovery coaching and practices. The major thing I was looking at is using it more along the lines of promoting groups and upcoming events that your agency holds. With the ethical part of it, trying to do like one-on-one recovery coaching on Facebook would be like violation of Privacy Act. It would be a violation of HIPAA. And even with Facebook, you have the option of starting a private group where you can get more of your individuals involved in that group that are just agencies. But it still will be a violation of HIPAA if they haven't signed any release of information allowing for the other recoveries to be able to hear their information
Mm-hmm.
or read their information.
Right. So it might be a way for recoveries and recovery coaches to stay in contact with each other, but only, as I'm hearing you say, if there is a policy in place and that they have signed off for that disclosure.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me again, some places where social media, now you have experience on your own personal Facebook page with your company. Can you share that with the group?
My agency, we do have a Facebook page, and the only thing that we actually put on that Facebook page is like upcoming events, classes that we're holding, job opportunities. But we do not go into it as far as open conversations with members, describing events, personal events.
Hmm. So in that way, it enhances the delivery of recovery support services, but it doesn't challenge some of the ethics around either disclosure of information, personal information, or crosstalk that could be misperceived.
Yes, exactly. The purpose of the page is just for information only.
Yes. So
Not
does
only
anyone
for
have
the
any
members, but for
comments?
anybody that will be looking in.
Okay. Now, quick response to, thank you very much for reporting, Jamer. I appreciate that. Anybody have a quick response? Any personal experience from an agency perspective or personal perspective where you've used social media to enhance your coaching or it's caused some problems? Anybody? Hmm. No, I think that'd be fine, Melody. That's what this is about. Absolutely. This is if it's affecting your recovery coach practice or your service delivery. Go ahead and respond to Melody. That's fine, and we'll read them out of the chat box. This is exactly what this portion is for. So thank you.
I think it's walking a thin line when you're looking at your personal Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all have opinions. We all have, our personal lives,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're political, religious, family based.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a good idea to limit your responses to certain things and what you post.
Mm-hmm. And I did hear you mention earlier the concept of the privacy settings and the idea, if you have a recovery who is far, far away or young, or this is how they communicate most. And Janet, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and read your comment. I think everyone can see it, but you have friends on Facebook who are in recovery. I don't respond to them about anything other than the committees we're working on. And when at a meeting, I stop them if they try to talk about clinical issues. Yes. So there's that boundaries, setting very clear boundaries when we're working within our social media environments and trying to maintain our professional behavior. I think you're all going to love
That's a
the
good
third
idea to do
webinar
that
because we
because you
talk a
don't
lot
want to
about how we go about creating. Yeah,
release
how we go about
information over
creating
line that.
those ethical rules.
Yeah. It could be a violation of HIPAA.
Exactly. So I see a couple more people typing. We'll try to wrap this question up and then we'll go to group 2, but I want to catch the last couple folks. Our recovery center's growing. And yes, a policy regarding recovery coaches, recoveries, personal Facebook pages. Yes, yes. Well, you bring up a great point. Yep, friends and their children in recovery. Indeed. Indeed, layers, layers and layers. If it's any consolation, I know most of the young people in my world think Facebook is for us old timers now. They all use different platforms. So thank you for your work around question 1. We'll continue to see some, yes, indeed, Snapchat. So we'll proceed to the reporter for group 2, discussing question 2. Can you tell me who that is by raising your hand, and I'll make sure your mic is unmuted, or you can unmute it yourself. Group 2. I think group 2 was the group that might have had, let's see, my mic does not work. I understood that, Melody. So who's reporting out of your group? Oh, you don't have a mic at all. Okay, so if you would like to report back through the chat, that's okay. Oh, Anne, yeah. I know there was some robust discussion going on in group 2, so thank you all for dealing with the microphone issues and using your chat boxes so efficiently. Oh, thanks, Chip. That'd be great. And I see your mic is unmuted at this point, so go ahead and report out. And perhaps there were some significant issues with mics in room 2, so it's okay. Typing is fine. I'll do my best to read and keep up, and this way we can all see it together. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Chip. So what were some of the thoughts you all had around this question? No problem. Patience is a virtue anytime we're dealing with technology and being so far away from each other. So it's impressive that we're able to communicate as well as we are with the technology we have. So I do appreciate the patience. Thank you, Janet. Our own biases, one thing we noticed. Yep. How might it positively affect one's recovery coaching practice or service delivery? And again, how about identifying with our recovery, helping our recovery trust us because we've been there, we know what they're, we may not know it exactly, but we have maybe experienced some of the same either stigma, labels, situations. Knowing the way a person identifies, trying to be sure we do not use slang or negative connotations, absolutely being very aware of ourselves. Mm-hmm. Culturally competent, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Understanding. And if we're asked to meet our recoverees where they are, understanding, yep, recognize the biases, rise above them. How about being willing to learn from our recoverees, using them as a resource to help us understand? Mhm. Yes, 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 yes. That's the beauty of recovery coaching is I learn so much from my recoverees. And if there is a negative impact on one's recovery coaching practice or service delivery because perhaps our recovery responds negatively toward us, or we appear or even inadvertently appear to react negatively to them, then again it calls on us to have policies, procedures, people we can refer to, people we can ask questions of. Yep, body language, absolutely. Absolutely. People can learn a lot about us. We don't even have to open our mouths. See, yep. I love the typing. Keep typing. Yes, yes, yes. In recovery coaching, so much is about self-awareness. One of the things we're modeling for our recoveries is that willingness to look inside and know who we are. Who we are. Because again, if we're honest with ourselves, if we understand where our biases are, we can better attempt to remediate for them or watch out for them or find help understanding more. And it does matter because we do want to be open. That's absolutely, yes, thank you, Janet. Absolutely, we do want to be open. Again, this is a relationship driven profession. And in our relationships, we want to be honest and thoughtful and open, accepting, meeting our recoverees where they live. If we're biased, we have the obligation to refer out. Absolutely. That is absolutely, absolutely. I cannot work effectively with someone that I cannot either relate to honestly or behave ethically. Dress respectfully. Yep. 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 You guys are awesome. Keep typing. We could talk about these all day, and that's what I love about ethics. They are absolutely you can see them from so many different angles, the scenarios. Is any last comments before we move on to group 3? I want to make sure we have time to hear from group 3. Okay, who will be the reporter? And I hope we have a microphone. I do dearly love to hear your voices. So, will group 3?
Hi, everyone.
Reporter, Hi.
I'm Euphemia, and I will be reporting for Group 3, and I believe Danielle was in the group with us.
And Anne.
And, no, I said Ann first, because Ann was doing all the talking. So we had a really robust conversation. And like the groups that preceded us, Facebook, social media is prominent when we think about environments that could create ethical dilemmas for a recovery coach. We also explored newspapers and television, those types of media as well. And we looked at it from the perspective of coming from a small town where roles may converge between being someone's recovery coach, being their neighbor, their friend, or the friend of a parent of someone who might be in recovery. And the importance of maintaining a professional balance while also maintaining the boundaries for a friendship without appearing to be too sympathetic or showing favoritism. And Anne or Danielle, please type in or chime in at any time. So it's more about the neutral approach and having policies and procedures that are in place if approached by the media or print press.
Mm-hmm.
But also maintaining the level of confidentiality of people that are your friends or
Mm-hmm.
or
I
that
know
you are
when I
the
popped
actual
in to
recovery
visit the
coach
room,
for.
Yep. Thank you. I know when I popped in to visit, we talked a little bit briefly about a situation that had occurred at an actual Recovery Coach Academy and was explored actually in a role play where the coach, the person in the coaching role, and one of the people who was receiving Recovery Coach services from his organization both ran into each other at a pub. And while this was a perfectly legal environment, it was also awkward and it raised some interesting dilemmas. You had a great response to that. Would you share that?
So, sure. So the response was is that while you acknowledge the presence of the person, you do not divulge how you know them or where you know them from.
Can anyone
We
see a
also
sticky
noticed,
wiki there?
but one last thing is that, while social media
Yeah, please
is
do.
encouraged, we talked about the use of LinkedIn for a more professional venue for recovery coach advertising or sharing of information because Facebook and other social media is too public.
Mm-hmm. So again, talking about those privacy settings, you're anticipating a great scenario from our next webinar. So this is great. Thank you for setting us up so beautifully. I see some typing, so absolutely. We have just a couple minutes of discussion left, and then we'll get you out of here. I see Anne's typing. There she goes. The board with Families Against Narcotics. Yes. 3 different avenues to keep separate, to not cross lines legally, ethically, or lose the community trust. Absolutely. When we're in small communities and we're working in our advocacy roles, when we're doing our work, a lot of times we're represented in our town's media. Mm-hmm. Again, all of those public and social environments, they're absolutely legal and they're part of our responsibility. Again, if we're acting as an advocate. Mm-hmm. Relationships, relationships, relationships. That's what I hear you talking about, Janet. That's absolutely. The more we know about each other, the more we understand about recovery. Again, there are obligations for us to represent out what we do well. And there are some considerations that go along with that. Absolutely. I love that point that, again, when you're presented as closely aligned with law enforcement, it can have a positive and a negative impact on people. Indeed, there could be a stigma, especially if people have had negative experiences with law enforcement as it relates to usage or living. Build trust, make our recovery feel safe. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Janet. So I love the robust discussion. I see Anne is typing, so I'll wait for that comment, and right after that, we'll move on. Factual educational posts. Educating. Great tool. I would hope that these scenarios, you will have a copy of this webinar. I know Stacy does her best. She gets all the stuff out to you after the fact, and I have an official statement about that at the end. But absolutely use these scenarios as leaping off points for your discussions. If you're creating rules or if you work with people and you want to discuss a variety of situations, again, it is better to be proactive than reactive. So again, knowing what we know about ethics and what we know about recovery coaching, putting these things in place proactively, that will be great. So, all right. Yes, indeed. So these are what we hope you'll take away from this discussion today. That, and I have heard it in our conversations, that recovery coaches do need to be aware of the individual, the social, and the community impact of our personal decisions, whether they're, relating to our religious beliefs, our professional behavior or personal behavior in and around our recovery coaching practices, that our personal decisions and behaviors can pose challenges to our ethical behavior, taking point, Sarah and Karen, but they can also provide opportunities for ethical behavior, like knowing how to ask for help. I loved the conversation that went around asking for our resources to help, making sure we have a referral network, making sure we have other people to talk with. And that this dynamic does pose the need or drive the need for those personal and professional codes of ethics. I'm grateful to hear when people say they have rules in place about that. I loved the example of the Facebook page that Jamer gave, that there are very specific things that are posted and not posted. And so obviously that agency has considered that, or that organization has considered that. Nice face. I love it. So any other takeaway message that you've gleaned from our conversation that I couldn't have anticipated? All right. Well, Melody's typing, so I'll wait for that. I'm often accused of moving quickly, so, oh, good. I'm often accused of moving quickly, so I'm trying very hard to make sure that I don't move too quickly and capture all that you're sharing, because I certainly appreciate it. Yep, I will go over that next. That's are there any questions or comments? So there's the first question. Yes, you will. What I thank you again for your work this morning. Stacy will indeed follow up with an email, and she'll have a link to access the recording of this webinar, as well as a survey. And once you've completed that survey, your certificate will be generated. Aw, thank you, Danielle. It is my pleasure. I learned very, very much from all of you, so I really do appreciate it. Any last questions, any thoughts, anything you want to know before we go? No, thank you. And hopefully by the next time we'll have all sorted out our systems. And so, yes, keeping it ethical. Thank you, Chip. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Janet. Yes, good. I'm glad it was easy. Okay, well, what I would recommend, Melody, is to check your system and check the mic, maybe a different computer. Oh, indeed, making new friends, but try maybe a different computer or a different mic, because again, it should work through once you designate which mic you're using, whether it's the default in your computer or an external mic. It should work. So I apologize that there were some situations. No problem, Melody. It's great to see your name if I couldn't hear your voice. And yes, I do love, love, love getting to know you all. I feel like I can't wait to talk to you next week.